Hi, it's Jez here from Nigezza.co.uk. Thank you for joining me today. Today I'm bringing you the tutorial for the project I did for the InspireINK blog hop, which was on my blog yesterday. And the theme of this month was birthdays, and it is my great niece's 21st birthday. So I thought, well, I may as well make that card for the blog hop, because you go a little bit all out, don't you, for those special birthdays. So this was my prototype that I did in retired stuff, Blackberry Bliss, my favourite. And it's a twist and pop card. And first one, this is the first one that I ever made. And I was quite pleased the way it turned out. Now, I have to confess that I am using the retired large letter and large number dies, because, well, they just go so well. There was no other way of getting 21. So I know this one doesn't say 21, but I'm making a 21st birthday card. I watched quite a few videos on how to make these, and they varied slightly, and I've gone for the one that I think is probably the simplest. And I will say, be careful when you're sticking things on here, because I don't know if you can see that edge there does push it a bit. Yeah, you just have to sort of watch that and not put anything too big on there, and probably best left plain, really. For this card, I'm going to be using the beautiful Perennial Essence paper, and I'm going to be cutting into it for the first time. I've chosen this because, one, it's very beautiful, and two, a couple of years ago went to Paris with my great niece and my youngest and my sister. My great niece and my youngest child the same age, we went to the Museum d'Orsay because she wanted to go there. She wanted to go there because there was an episode in Gossip Girls filmed there. I'd never ever been there before, despite many times going to Paris, and there was so many Impressionists, and she studied art at GCSE, and she loved seeing the paintings that she'd studied in real life. And I am a huge fan of Monet, and they had like the massive big water lily paintings, and so that's why I'm choosing this. I'm choosing this particular piece of paper because it's got quite a lot of pink in it, and she likes pink. I've chosen Blueberry Brushel as the card base because although it's got Flirty Flamingo and Petal Pink and Blackberry Bliss and everything in it, I felt that this one was the colour that made it pop more than any of the others. That's why I've chosen this. Okay, enough of the spiel. Let's get on. So I'm just going to do the card mechanism to begin with. It takes sort of like a sheet and a bit of cardstock to make the base of the card. So this one is just half size of standard card size, cut down in half down the centre. So that's 11 3/4 by 4 1/8. All the measurements will be on my blog as usual. This piece is 3.5 inches by 10, and this piece is 3.5 inches by 8. So we're just going to do some scoring. So get my scoreboard, and this piece is scored in half, 5 7/8. And I like to butt it up and crease it to make sure that we are definitely in the centre for that one. This one here, which is 3.5 by 10, we are going to score at 2.5, at 5, and at 7.5. So this is the bit that's going across the centre, and so basically each of these are 2.5 inches wide by 3.5 inches deep. And I am gonna use the benefit of having a nice rectangle there to get these creases exactly in the right place. I will of course go over with my bone folder afterwards, but that's how you want to fold that, so you've got a M or a W, whichever way you look at it. And then this piece, this is the twisty bit. This is the bit that's going there, that we're going to do now. So this bit we are going to score at 1 3/4, which is scoring it in half. So simply score it at 1 3/4, and then we want to make a little mark on the long side at 2 1/4, just a little mark, and at 5 3/4, and then we want to do exactly the same on the other side, 2 1/4, 5 3/4. So you've just got little marks, hope you can see there. And then one of the reasons why I have straight lines drawn on here is to be able to do a diagonal line. So from that point there down to that point there, we want to draw a diagonal line, and the same on the other side. So we're causing a cross in the middle. And it crosses the centre like so. All right. So now we're going to get our bone folder, and I'm just going to reinforce all the creases that I have done. And then this one you're going to crease that one, do it both ways so that it's happy to move, and then we're going to crease that one and that one, and then these go down and you form a little house like so. And you might just have to force it a little bit like so. Okay, so that is our twist and pop mechanism. Okay, so before we attach it, what we will do is we will attach it to the inside of this card, and then we will put this on top. Once it's glued down, that will glue like so to each side. Okay, but I want to put the mats on these pieces first before I do that. As you can see, it's attached on top of the matting and layering. I have seen people where they've attached this and then they've cut a mat and layer like a house shape, but I ain't doing it that way. I'm doing it a much simpler way. So for the mats, I've got 4 pieces of Whisper White, and they're my usual first layer mat sizes. So they're 5 3/8 by 3 7/8. So we've got one for the front. I'm going to put one on the back, and then one on each side of the middle. and so it'll make the card quite robust, really, which it needs to be, because likelihood is if you had a card like that, you would do that a lot, wouldn't you? But yeah, so you've got 3 layers of cardstock and 2 layers of DSP on each of those. So I've gone for this one in the middle, the plainer one in the middle, and the pattern one on the outside. So that's what I've gone for. So I'm going to stick them all together, but I'll speed it up a bit whilst I do that. So that's all those bits stuck together. I'm going to do the back later. So that's the front of the card. I do love this paper. And then that like that. So let's get the mechanism in. So the mechanism is going to get stuck down on top of this. It's easy to centre because it's actually about the same width as the DSP, and you want it just to touch up there as well. So what I find easiest, put glue on that and then fold it down to pick it up. So I'm just going to put Tombow. You can use tear and tape, red liner tape, whatever, but I would use a strong glue because it is likely to be worked a lot. I would imagine there'll be people picking it up and opening it up quite a lot. So give that a press. Give it a press on the other side. You do want to make sure it's well stuck. And then we do the same to this side. So that opens and closes really, really well. Okay, and before I stick this bit on, I'm going to decorate it because it is easier to do when it's not on. So to layer up the inside, we're using Whisper White that's 2 3/8 by 3 3/8, and then the mat is 2 1/4 by 1 1/4. So we're making it an 1/8 difference, so that it's half the border, the mat that you get on the front, because it's such a smaller space. So I've chosen to do the sort of floral elements on the outside and the plainer one in the middle, and that's where I'm going to put my 21. So I'm going to get those all stuck down, and I'll do that in a speeded up version. So that's that all stuck down, and so now we just need to stick this to the mechanism. So to do this, you can either eyeball where the center is, or you can measure it. So I'll get my ruler. and find the centre point of here. So we know it's 4 and an eighth, so half of that is 2 and a 16th. So the centre point is there. So I've put a little light mark on there, and that's where you want to place the centre of this score mark. Okay, and then what you're doing is you're going to apply glue to that top section there and glue to that bottom section there. So you could draw it if you want to. I just applying. Again, you want to use a strong glue, so tear and tape, red liner tape, Tombow. Perfect for this. You want a nice strong glue, and then I'm going to glue that side down and that side down. And that is the mechanism done. But as you can see, it looks a little bit plain. I want to add a few other things to it. So that should now, you might need to help it initially. But once it's done it a few times, it will then go lovely. And you can hear that it's knocking there a bit, so those are the bits to avoid if you're sticking anything on it. So you want to avoid the points where they glide against there. So it's only a bit of it, and I say on my prototype I thought I'd avoided it, but I hadn't avoided it well enough. So on this one I've done happy birthday to you and then decoration there. I'm going to do happy 21st birthday on this one, and I think I am going to cut out those lovely lacy bits because I think they work really well. And that's the lacy trim from the Arts and Crafts one, and I think that's quite pretty. You can of course use our punch for the border. I don't think the buttons are quite right for this one, although there is this lovely swathe, isn't it, which gives a sense of water, which I might actually do because that's quite nice as well, isn't it? Kind of goes with the water. So yeah, I'm changing my mind, going for that one. So I'm going to cut those out. I'm going to cut my happy birthday out, and I'm going to do my bit as well. Okay. So those bits are all cut out. When you cut this one out, it kind of stays in the die, so you just have to snip. It stays in the paper, not stays in the die. So you just have to snip it. And it has got a little bottom to it, which I cut off. So just join those arcs up is what I do. I do like, I've used this before in the Sail Away one to give the effect of waves, which, although in a lily pond you get ripples really, don't you? I think this will look nice. Yeah, I like that. So I shall do the other one, but not bore you. So that's them both cut out, and by just cutting away one of these sections, it does fit quite nicely across there. I've got the edge that I've cut at the bottom, just going to tidy that one a little bit more, and then I will be putting those towards the bottom, and that's where we clear the bottom and the top and nowhere near the bit that we want to avoid. So I'm going to stick those in. I'm going to come down about an inch. I'm sticking this on. Kind of use my grid mat to help as I go across. And do the same at the bottom, try and give it the same sort of distance. Oops. Like so. Move that over a tad actually. There. And then we're going to stick the happy and the birthday down. And yeah, if we go close to the border, we will be fine. Okay, so I'm just going to put a bit of glue on the back of my hand and tap these letters into the glue. And try and get it straight. The other one was much easier to line up because there was dots all over the paper, so you could line it up. And I just need the eye for the birthday, which I've left deliberately in the die. In the die cut, my eye, I've left it there so that I don't lose it. I've got glue on the back of my hand, stick it in there. There we have it. And then we've just got us to stick on, which I stamped in blackberry bushel to blueberry bushel even, to match the card base. And I'm just going to overlap the one a bit, makes it look a little bit like a flagpole. And that's the middle bit done. So now all we need to do is decorate the front of the card, but that's the middle, and I have managed to stick that on so that the elements do not get in the way. So the way I did this one was I used the layering ovals, and I'm going to do that again, but I think I might put a flower on the front as well, and I'm going to decorate the back fairly similar, but I'll use these elements. So I'm going to get those bits cut out and come back to you. So I'm going to do the decoration on the front a bit different. For this one, I layered up the largest plain oval, the largest scallop oval, and the largest stitched oval, and that was the sandwich that I used, and then put the happy birthday on front. But it's quite a plain DSP, and I think that works really well. But for this one, I think it would cover it up too much, and it would just take away all those beautiful flowers and that sort of Monet look painting, and I didn't want to do that, so I changed my mind, and when I cut one of these flowing things out, I thought, oh, I could put that there, have a happy birthday, and then I thought, why don't I try and make one of these flowers and put that there. I thought that might look nice. So I've got my daisy mounted from Daisy Lane, I've got Petal Pink, and I've got Flirty Flamingo, which are the two pinks in this. I'm going to get some scrap paper for stamping off, because I'm going to do some stamping off because that's far too bright. So I'm going to stamp 3 to layer up. So I'm actually stamping off twice so that I get a nice light subtle colour. There we go, and I've just realised that I haven't brought the punch over to my desk. Oh, nothing like being prepared properly. There we go, it's not far to walk. So I shall just punch these out. Caught myself. Ooh. Hands decided not to work. So it takes me, I spend ages lining them up. And then the final one. And I'm going to do, sometimes that happens, you just have to punch again. And then I'm going to do some sponging. So I've got crushed curry, which is the yellow. See, I didn't line that up as well as I like. And I'm going to use some Petal Pink. So I've got my daubers. So that's my crushed curry. And that's my Petal Pink, at least I think it is. I take these labels off. Oh no, that's it. That must be Blushing Bride. So I'm going to sponge round the petals of these flowers, because there is all sorts of different colours in the flowers, and there's darks and lights, so I want to bring different colours in, and the centre is crushed curry, and we've got some real flower element centres which I will probably use. I'm going to see how it looks when I've done all this. I might do a little bit of just tapping round, take away some of the brightness of that petal pink, not petal pink, Flirty Flamingo. There we go. And then I'm going to put a bit of crushed curry in the centre. And although they're going to get stuck on top of each other, you might see bits of it overlapping. There we go. And these are the real flower elements that we've got for sticking in the centre of the flower, which might look nice. So we're going to curl the flowers. So I've got a bit of sponge and I'm going to curl them all upwards. Normally I alternate, so I do one way and one another, but they're all, I want them all to come up for this flower. So we just stroke from the outside to the inside. All of them. So normally I'd go one way, one the other. Normally I would only layer 2 of them, but I'm going to do 3 because I want this to be a really full flower. There's no gaps in the petals at all, so I want to try and bring one of the flowers to life. And then we can just, when you're layering them, I'm going to put that one towards the bottom actually because I'm not happy with the way I stamped that one. I'm going to layer it up like that. So I'm going to get some Tombow, put a blob on this one, put that one on top, but only partially fill the gap. Hold it for a bit whilst it dries. It was actually my friend Jill from Paper Daisy Crafting who I first saw using more than one daisy, and I went, what a genius idea. I would never have thought it. It's like you use 2 layers, but it made such a lovely full flower, and that's exactly what I need for this project. And you can see that by colouring, each of the flowers with the crushed curry, that sort of worked as well. If you just did it on the top one, it might not work so well. So that's that. So I'm just going to take my bone folder now and make these a little less uniform. Just because nature isn't uniform. And then what have I just done with the centre of my flower? got it, but I'm not convinced that that is the one that I got out. No, it isn't. Like I say, I was just going to show you this was my practice one where I actually did it double layered, but I think that's too big for the front of this card. I'll use it for something else. So I'm just going to peel off the sticky off the back of that and stick it in the middle of this flower. When I saw them on stage, I went, oh, I don't like them, look a bit weird, but I think it probably works for this one. There, I think that works really well. So now I've got all the elements together, I'm going to stick them down, and I quite like how that looks. So I might speed this bit up. So that's that bit done, and I have decided I coloured a rhinestone. I haven't got blueberry bushel, but I did have Night of Navy, and I think that works. So got a little bit of bling there for the birthday, and I think I might use a dimensional on the back of the flower to stick that down, because this has got to go in an oversized envelope anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And that's the front done, and I think that's quite special. So I'm just going to do the back bit. So there we are. That's my 21st birthday card for my great niece, which needs to go in the post actually, and I hope you like it. So I'm just going to show how different you can make something look by changing up the papers. Okay, see you again soon. There will be like and subscribe there, be the blog post there, and some other little videos that you might go and explore. Okay, thank you for joining me.